But I think, listen, things are going to tick up a little bit higher on the rates, in my opinion, just talking to a lot of folks in the mortgage industry. And that's the other thing, by the way, what, it comes down to knowing your craft. Listen, I tell people all the time, listen, read the research reports, listen to the financial news every day, understand what's going on in the mortgage industry. You should know in the morning, you wake up and by 7:30, you should know what the interest rates are that day. For, a 30, a 15, you should know what the arms are. I mean, I'll tell you what's scaring me up by us is I started talking to a few mortgage people. Some of these mortgage companies are going back to doing the ninja mortgages, which that's scaring the heck out of me. So those are back in, I'm a little bit older than you are, my friend. So
educate
back
me.
in 2008 with the mortgage crisis, the ninja mortgage was basically no income verification, no job verification, no asset verification. Basically, you just go in and say, yeah, I make this amount. Yeah, they'll just look at your FICO score, and you would walk in and be like, hey, you know what? I make $1 million a year. Oh, great, you make $1 million a year, but you don't have to verify it. So they're coming. Some of these banks are creeping out with that again. That's going to be a repeat of 2008. 2008 was a rough year for everyone with the mortgage crisis. That was probably one of the worst years for me professionally. I remember I had to lay off 50 employees in one day. Oh yeah, those are the days I thank God I don't drink, because I would have been, probably still not sober right now. 13 years later, that was I had to fly to St. Louis at a client of mine and lay off. It was a day after Easter. I had to lay off almost 50 people on a project and just kind of turn around, walk out, and go right back to the airport. Wow. Let me tell you something. Talk about stressful. That's why nothing in this industry stresses me out at all. But I'll tell you a funny anecdote. So, I think we spoke, on Instagram when I was out in Florida a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So, funny thing, the way home, again, I'm a little older than you are, so you probably understand the reference. So you remember the group, the Diplomats?
Of course.
With Jim Jones.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm flying JetBlue from Fort Lauderdale, flying back to Jersey. I missed my first flight, got on a last flight on JetBlue. I sit down, and with me, my wife laughs. The second I get on a plane, I fall asleep. Like, before my seatbelt's on, my body shuts off. So I wake up 10 minutes later. Who's sitting next to me? Jim Jones, the Diplomats. I mean, of course, he's got the mask on, of course, because we're still doing COVID stuff. But he's got this gigantic. It looks like an NBA championship ring.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it, and it says Diplomats. I look at him. He goes, "Oh, you don't know what that is?" I go, "You're Jim Jones, man." And coming from a 49-year-old, like white guy, I think I kind of shocked him a little bit. But he did a podcast video, and it's funny. I watch it every day. I watched a clip at least twice a day for motivational purposes. Yeah. So he did an interview, and it was talking about, when he was down, he was out. He just kind of pulled himself up and said, "You know what? Listen, I'm a hustler. It's what I do." And it's talking about not letting his wife, his kid, his mom, feel what he was going through. And the one thing he said, it's in my head every single day, and I listen to it daily. And my wife actually laughs because I'll send it to her via Instagram all the time. And it says, "You know what? So what? Things are bad. You know what? So I won't buy Chanel for a few months, but what's back popping is Chanel every day." And because he said, because I'm a hustler, and because that's what I do. And I sat next to him and I said to him, because listen, I went through a real down. Jersey is getting motivation from Jim Jones on a clip on Instagram. So for me, it was one of those things where I had the privilege to talk to him. He takes it first and foremost. He is one of the nicest, kindest people I've ever spoken to in my entire lifetime. I sat there laughing with him on the plane for 2 hours, flying up with a drunk guy between us, punching the seat and trying to break his TV screen. And I sat there and I'm sitting there, and it was one of the greatest conversations I've ever had on business in life, was talking to Jim Jones on a plane. So that goes back to, we can learn as a business from anybody and everybody. Listen, I ran a company for 20 plus years. My probably 4 best mentors in this industry are you, Tech, Tiger, Andre, period. I can take any one of the 4 of you guys, put you in a $100 million company running it, and it's a $150 million company within 2 years, because you guys understand the concept of business. And that's the thing, I don't care if we're selling lollipops, boozy ice pops, which by the way is a thing. When I was in Charleston visiting my son at college, they actually have like food trucks that sell alcoholic ice pops. That has to be my next business, by the way, because there were a bunch of college students lined up down the street getting those things. But you know what it is? It comes down to, this whole business is networking, whether you network with your peers, your mentors, clients, whatever it might be. Someone, it gets to the point now, I'll have people, I'll tell you what, one of the great ones I got, believe it or not, one of the weirdest sources of business. When I first got into the business, I was printing a lot of things at Staples.
Mm-hmm.
And I start talking to the guys in the printing shop at Staples. And everyone assumes that you can go to Staples and get things notarized like you could at a UPS store.
Yeah.
Which you
FedEx
can't.
too.
So they've got a stack of my business cards. I've probably gotten at least 50 to 60 notarizations because like, hey, call Joe Butler, here's his card. He's a notary, he lives 15 minutes away. He'll meet you here in 20 minutes. My phone will ring like, hey, so-and-so from Staples, give me your number. The bank managers now, those folks can't notarize a plethora of documents.
Yeah.
They've got my business card. Hey, you know what? I can't do it, but call this guy. He'll come meet you wherever.